Hello, good people. Welcome to the July 2026 Scroll Report, where we scroll back through the previous month to see if there's anything worth hanging off the Empire State Building. Aww, what a cute couple. Here they are sharing their hobbies together, working out together. What an inspiration. So, let us proceed with the July 2026 Boom Scroll and Doom Scroll with my special guest, Richard A. Walker.
Hey, Tony. About a boom scroll comment from one of our fans. He had a few words to say about Mr. Hokit bad mouthing Michelle Obama. Hey, Jimmy, go ahead. Tell him what you're thinking. Well, hey, Josh, Mr. Hokit, hey, Donald, uh, Mr. Donald. Oh, now we all know how you really feel. Heck, even a blind man can see it. See that there guy, Barack, looks pretty happy, don't he? You know why? Oh man, you all know why. You know that Miss Michelle? Oh, she's fine as cherry wine. Smart as a whip, too. Smooth like buttermilk. Hell, it's better than buttermilk. Y'all better listen to that Ray Charles song. I can't stop loving you. You won't. If you ain't got a clue what I'm talking about, y'all go ahead and listen to that song. Y'all be hating, ain't you? Don't you? Shoot. It's all Tony. Short and sweet, man. I just want to give a thank y'all for giving a listen to my thinking. Thank you, Jimmy. We appreciate it. That's all I got, Tony.
This Boom Scroll goes out to White House Executive Order 14416, Restoring Trust in the Smithsonian Institution. Yes, good people, this is a reason to rejoice. We have something to fight for now. This executive order, specifically Section 3, warning visitors about ideological capture at the National Museum of American History, puts signage outside of our museums claiming partisanship agenda. Well, the agenda is the transformation of the United States of America, isn't it? Look, good people, this is a stand we can take. We have lost the dialectic on abortion and affirmative action and perhaps even representative democracy. We can take a stand here on the question whether the United States of America can transform into a nation that guarantees liberty and equality for all, or are we going to continue to reinforce a natural social order established by our founding fathers? I hope everyone knows what side I stand on in support of all of those people working hard to document and exhibit the history of this country and track the changes in our transformation.
Hello, everyone. I was just doing a doom scroll report about the U.S. Iran war, that war that no one supports and is illegal, by the way. But then on July 13th, a late breaking whimsical boom scroll popped up for me to check out. I'm glad it did. Turns out an Iran war participation trophy was dedicated to President Donald Trump. The trophy is intended to provide President Trump, positive reinforcement. You'll notice in the picture the gold trim that he likes so much, that king glitter kind of stuff. In short, the inscription at the base of the statue reads, "We hereby award President Donald Trump this participation trophy for his enthusiastic involvement in the Iran war." While some concern themselves with military strategy, diplomacy, or other measurable outcomes, President Trump demonstrated the courage to participate regardless. As you can see from the picture, folks are placing little statuettes, also trimmed in gold, at the base of the statue. Kind of looks to me like mini me statuettes. You know what I mean? Attaboy, Donald. Attaboy.
Richard, this doom scroll is on Jay-Z. And a lot of the media attention that Jay-Z's been garnering over the last 2 months, especially since his GQ interview and his appearance at the Roots picnic, and then he just did a concert at Madison Square Garden, I believe it
Yeah, I
was,
heard about that. Yeah.
where he had dissed Colin Kaepernick, and he also last month signed a contract with Target to reissue one of his earlier classic albums. So those are all the objective facts on this, okay?
Hmm.
My feeling about the GQ interview mirrors what Torre said and Torre's comments about black billionaires. That black billionaires are like white billionaires. You don't get $1 billion by being a good guy. I especially admired Torre for the way that he stood up to Jay-Z because he considers Jay-Z a friend. But he's like, hey, bottom line is though, oh, you can't call yourself a woke billionaire. You can't say that Che Guevara would have dinner with you. Even then, I was like, not really wanting to stay in the conversation because I didn't think that I had enough cachet to make judgments on anybody, billionaires and black billionaires especially. My attitude towards Jay-Z's billionaire status is that I believe that Jay-Z is playing a long game, that he is building generational legacy so that one day when black people do run things, the Carter family is going to be at the forefront of all that.
Hmm.
So I like to kind of keep my powder dry on that, on the black billionaire issue. Do you have thoughts on that?
Here's the thing, one thing about the culture we're in, unfortunately, when you see in what appears to be a contradiction, right? A black
Hmm.
billionaire, unfortunately, in this day and time, a black billionaire is sort of a contradiction. We have to understand that. Sure, you can have your opinion. This person might think, well, Che Guevara will roll over in their grave. But if he has a long game, and that long game, and there's evidence that his long game is such that he has a bigger vision in mind, then I'm not going to judge him necessarily at this point. I agree in the sense that take Target, for example. That
Hmm.
was a boycott. But
Yeah.
I don't know if the boycott's still going on. Has it fizzled out?
Hmm.
That's not enough to know that case. So he made that deal. Well, we're all in the contradiction of having to put on suits and ties. So he's trying to make his legacy and pay his bills as well. Now, I will not compare his black billionaire status to Elon Musk.
Hmm.
Okay, where the track record is very clear to me, he has no interest in the will or cares or the concerns of the people, working people, period. I don't care black, white, or purple. So this
Hmm.
is the difference, I would say, when I listen to those comments. Well, wait a minute. Jay-Z hasn't shown that kind of a track record. We have to have the spaces where if we don't want to say something, fine, so be it. But what are we going to do? Tony.
Yeah.
What are we going to do behind it? And that's the
Hmm.
game. And unfortunately, our history is such. When I say "our," I'm talking about it from a Black American perspective. Is
Hmm.
that we always have the crabs in the barrel, and you
Hmm.
never know. You can be friends, and even in family, you can
Hmm.
be friends when both of you are in the family, and then one of you snipes at a little particular thing, and then all of a sudden something is said out of context. So I'm not going to take the guy's context as him. You mentioned he's still a friend of Jay Z,
Hmm.
but he has his own personal line and he spoke to it. Okay, have a good day.
So for July, we've got a good number of boom scrolls for HBCUs. HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities. Yeah, HBCUs have been in the news a lot in July. Kind of run down some of them. Howard University had a couple of incidents. One where a lot of enrollees, scholarship enrollees to Howard were automatically unenrolled. And there really hasn't been a great answer why that happened, but the last I heard that they are getting those people back on the rolls. So hopefully it isn't as big a disaster as the media makes it out to be.
One part of the mission of HBCUs that's different from a contextual standpoint is that how they have to also do an uplift as well as a caring kind of a mantle, more so
Mhm.
than I think predominant institutions have to do because they've already have the institutional gravitas. they can focus, and they already have the endowments and the money. Let me be blunt about it. Part of what I think happened in the case of Howard is that we already had in the news, right? There's another case where another predominantly white institution, what's the acronym now? The funny little acronym, PWI, whatever that's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
There was an endowment that moved from them. I think it was University of North Carolina, Wilmington, or something to that
Mm-hmm.
effect. They
Yes.
moved money from them to Howard.
Right.
Okay. So that in itself kind of put Howard back on the map. Oh, why would somebody do that? Well, you want to put your money where your mouth is in that respect. So in this particular case, they thought the DWI was not being honest and addressed what they put the money there for to support. So they turned around and put the money on Howard.
Yes, and that we say now, money talks, money is speech, and the Upperman family's money is doing the talking. What was Tuskegee about? Where was that?
Oh yeah, I remember that, Tony. We were talking about Tuskegee, and that was the dress code, so to speak, quote
Right.
unquote, having to wear the down dress.
Hmm.
I'm amused by it because back, for example, when Booker T was a part of that part of the Booker T. Washington part of the legacy,
Hmm.
and even when I was coming up, the idea was if you're going to make it in this world, you have to dress like this. You have to be
Hmm.
this way because that's the way the world of business operates. And honestly, I've seen that even when I wasn't in quote unquote majority Black situations. This is the model. This is what you have to do to make it. We are here to make sure you guys get a job, that you guys,
Hmm.
and you're going to have to present your best foot forward. In other words, you're going to have to be twice as on the ball than your counterparts will be. And part of that is just a contradiction, Tony, in terms of fighting that theme and the impulses of a newer generation. And he could see it. I remember
Hmm.
even when I was at my job, and this is recent, I just recently retired, as you know,
Hmm.
there was the contradiction between what we wore versus what the next generation was wearing. And that next generation didn't understand why they should have to worry about it.
Hmm.
They were like, I'm not getting paid to dress like this. I'm getting paid to do what I do. I'm getting paid to do my job.
Well, I think that's great, though, isn't it? That you have generational conflicts and struggles, and it's kind of Marxist, that we evolve through our struggles because there was a
Yes,
time in Howard University where the dress code was straight hair. That was part of the conflict, and the struggle created a new Howard University. I
right,
do applaud
right.
it because it is opening up the dialectic again. People are talking,
Yes,
and what the great thing about it is you can be right on both sides now. So
exactly.
this boom scroll goes out to Bernita Bowling, who just happened to be sitting in the metro on her way to work on July 4th when it was invaded by a cadre of Patriot fronters who
That boom. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm with you now, Tony. I didn't
great.
recognize the name for a moment.
Yeah, she was. I believe that photograph has become award-winning now. I'm not sure, but the photograph
Mhm.
of her sitting there all by herself and a whole group of fascists around her, cosplaying as patriots. It was a Rorschach for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, Tony. I saw the picture and immediately it flashed back to different angle. I thought I could see Rosa Parks sitting on that seat,
Hmm.
sitting in a bus by herself, no visible support, surrounded by these folks that did not want her on the bus. In the context that she had to have the fortitude to maintain her discipline and be there in the midst of that, I saw that young person doing there. Maybe even without the foreknowledge of being on that situation, maybe Rosa Parks, we know that was a deliberate act.
I want to, on that note, kind of segue into a doom scroll. A doom scroll for Nolan Wells.
Oh,
And we're all pretty familiar with the story by now. Nolan Wells in Mississippi went to a, holiday outing with a group of friends, and being the only black person in that party, somehow ended up dead, and there are no answers as to why. Um, I think what makes this a doom scroll is the history of racism that surrounds this story. Number one, being in Mississippi. And number two, I think the way that the facts were so obfuscated at the beginning, and it's so obfuscated as to seem deliberate. Then it comes out that one of the participants in this party, their parent was a big wig, a judge or something like that, who allegedly pressured the coroner to hold off on his report until toxicology screenings returned. This just stinks. It stinks. And the fact that the kids claim innocence, they, claim that, just we left him behind. We don't know what happened. The problem now is that any claim of innocence has been tainted beyond recognition. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump
Mhm.
commissioned his own autopsy in Washington, D.C., that would be funded by Colin Kaepernick. And those results, I believe they were released last week, but again, they couldn't come up with a determined cause of death. The media has put in so much rumor and speculation that it's so hard to get to the truth. I kind of wanted to give a little mini boom scroll to J.S. Candid, who's one of my daily reminders of truth on YouTube. For tracking the evidence so well. The latest thing that J.S. Candid has come out with is a recording of the phone, the 911 call, that you can hear the kids talking in the background. And a forensic engineer managed to filter out that recording to the point where they could discern what was being said in the background. And was something along the lines of, "Oh no, Nolan won't get up. Is he dead? Nolan, speak to me," this kind of thing. And that's, to me, is the latest piece of objective evidence that I've heard.
How was it that this person, the judge, as we'll call him, in short,
Mhm.
was able to react so quickly or have this knee-jerk reaction to hide, obfuscate versus transparency? See, that's a learned behavior, Tony,
Hmm.
and that shows a pattern of behavior. And see,
Yeah.
these are the types of things that really need to be understood.
Let's move on to a couple of
Mhm.
boom scrolls on. Let's see if we can do the Kelsey Fender. Tip of the hat to Waverly Minor for sharing this story on Facebook. Yeah, this is it. Female American rower completes record-breaking solo journey from California to Hawaii.
You betcha.
Rode a kayak from California to Hawaii. Record time too. Even
Hey,
beat
how
the
about
men's record on this. 21-foot rowboat and launched from Monterey, California in
mhm.
May. 2,400 miles. Pfendler appears to have broken both the previous women's speed record as well as the men's record, according to records
Yes.
maintained by the Ocean Rowing Society International. Say, Richard, I've got a little bit of a doom scroll for you from KIRO7 Seattle.
Hey, what's up, Seattle? Mhm.
Kiros 7 did a story on a mishap in Yellowstone,
Oh, man.
including this very interesting video from Yellowstone
Mhm.
National Park. So we have these tourists who are at Yellowstone Park trying to photograph a bison. The bison isn't really taking it very well. So here's the first signal when he starts rolling to get up. Like
Yep.
when your mama has to roll out of the couch because she's coming to whip your ass. That should have been the signal right there. So
Yep.
there he's going on him. So I don't know what pissed him off at all. All I know is he's so mad. Look, he's chasing this guy ring around the rosy here. And then
Mhm,
finally he
mhm.
gets this tree. He's like, "You see this tree, motherfucker? If this tree's you, this is what I'm gonna do to you when I catch up to you." So he starts going at him again. Guy's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, this bye, son."
Up and away.
I know. We're kind of laughing at the poor guy's misfortune. I found his name is Carl McDaniel. And
Okay.
he was hospitalized for this
Uh,
incident, broke his femur in four places near his hip.
ooh,
That's a
yeah,
serious injury for a
yeah,
65-year-old man.
absolutely. Absolutely. For anybody. Absolutely. Especially.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope the guy heals well. But I was kind of wondering about, well, what's the buffalo? What's the bison thinking?
I also did hear a story I believe it was from the national park, had assured the public that the bison will not be euthanized.
Good. That I tried to put myself in the mind of the buffalo, right? So
Mhm.
I said to myself, okay, I'm a former student of Carmack the Great, the great bison mind reader. You remember him from back in the day? So I said, okay, let me put my bison reading mind on. Okay. All right. Big body Bunsen, big body Bryson, big body bison. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course I like big body Brunson. What do you think? What do you think? This grazing stuff is getting old to me, man. I'm just gonna plop right down right here. All right. I'm getting kind of itchy too, though. Yeah, yeah, I'm getting kind of itchy here. Man, what are those two darn two-legged things over with the click click sound? Oh God. And there's that damn truck again. Oh my God. Oh my God. What's happening here? What's happening here? Wait, what? Which way did it go? And he ran to the tree and he's shaking the tree. Which way did it go? Which way did it go? And then finally, the truck came by again. That damn truck has been chasing me I can't graze in peace. I'm done with these people. Fuck. Whoosh. Next thing you know, he hauls off and says, up and away, buddy. Whoosh. And you're lucky that truck ain't red, buddy.
I got a boom scroll for the Michigan Supreme Court, who
Oh,
in a 5-2 decision on July 24th ruled that police can no longer use the smell of marijuana as
good.
justification for a warrantless vehicle search or detainment.
No sniffs. Good.
It found that odor alone does not establish probable cause that a criminal amount of cannabis is present in the vehicle. Now, this is just a state ruling. So,
Right.
other states where cannabis is legal, even recreational cannabis, such as Massachusetts and Maryland, is
Mhm.
Minnesota recreational legal?
Yes, it is, as a matter of fact. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
So that may not be applicable there, but it is setting a precedent. Here's a doom scroll for cyclosporiasis.
Yes.
There have been dozens of Americans hospitalized with cyclosporiasis. It's a kind of a parasite,
Okay.
amoeba, I believe, or something like that. A foodborne parasite.
Hmm. Hmm.
3,000 people sickened with gastrointestinal illness
Hmm.
across the country, particularly intense in Michigan, caused by the cyclospora parasite. The outbreak has been particularly intense in Michigan, which has about 1,500 cases, but they've also been reported in Ohio, Colorado, Illinois, New York, North Carolina, Texas, Wisconsin, and other states.
Wow.
Initially, it was blamed on a company called Taylor Foods, who was also contracting with Taco Bell. And
Okay.
the FDA had originally said that the cyclosporiasis was originating from Taylor Foods lettuce and going to Taco Bell. But then they walked back that claim like almost the next day.
Whoa.
But they still recommend not eating Taylor Foods and Taco
Yes.
Bell. So
Exactly.
it's also Department of Health and Human Services has been decimating investigative capabilities in the federal government.
It has. It has. Yeah, it's become another four-letter word or acronym.
Mhm. Personally, I see it as a lack of investigative acumen in our society. I mean, I understand you've been fired from the federal government, but you can still keep investigating. We want to know. Bring this information out to us. And, kudos to the guys at the FDA who are still working really hard on this problem. But
Right.
the media has really dropped the ball on this. They, instead of investigating and really just kind of look for a link between farms that are using wastewater for irrigation. Can't we even do that much of an investigation? But instead, we get dozens of articles on how to protect yourself from your produce. You know, it's it's frustrating.
Yeah, yeah, and again the follow through. I don't know if it's just fatigue and they're fighting so many battles and trying to figure out what to push or not to push, or whether, like you said, that fatigue is just attributing to the fact that they are just simply don't have the resources like they used to have. And that ties back in again with what that department has been basically gutted. And this is the kind of thing you see in the sector, and that, of course, affects the public.
And another doom scroll, kind of in the same vein,
Hmm.
for former Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
Whoa, Mitch. Okay.
What the
Okay.
fuck is up with that guy? So, once again, Mitch McConnell is playing loosey with the football, with his own life this time, hiding from the public until after August 3rd, where a special election will not be held. Do you think he's still alive?
It makes you wonder. I think, like you said, it's a classic maneuver. Apparently, the person that they've selected or has gotten elected, or however the little farcical game that they're running here, is a Trump nominee backed, and that's what pushed him over. And along with that, and the governor's tactics, that's how they're going to, in facto, slide him into the position. McConnell falls on the flag, so to speak, and able to say, I maintain my right and my guard to stay loyal to the Trump, and then he quietly goes out and retires. I think that's probably the end game they're trying to run.
So you think he's still alive?
Barely.
Mhm. But
I think
still
so.
still on this side of the line.
I think he's still around. I think he's still kicking, and
Mhm.
slowly, perhaps.
If he is still alive, then the deadline should pass legally. But still, it's weird how McConnell is always the center of this chicanery. Why aren't there journalists getting in there? I mean, look, they managed to bust into a pizza shop where they thought there was human trafficking going through. Surely somebody has enough perspicacity to get past security and find out if there is actually a living Mitch McConnell.
Basically, journalism has been silenced. They don't investigate with the same fervor as they did before. And they're saying it's because of the ongoing onslaught campaign by the Trump administration, because lawsuits, threats of lawsuits, and then ultimately changing the people that run the programs on the private side. That's had a chilling effect. So where we used to get that kind of investigative fervor, it's been stifled, and this is what you start to see. This is authoritarianism step one. I really think that's part of the chill. I'm glad to see that there's still the forces are out there, but this has been a direct attack on the role of the press, being that other party leg that helps democracy stay somewhat transparent, or as transparent as it can at the time.
Okay, well, how about a doom scroll for the Anthony Fauci hearings? I'm sure you've got a lot to say about that. Let's just summarize real quick. On Friday, July 30th, Dr. Fauci, he was the pandemic czar during the COVID pandemic, and
Yeah.
consequently, the butt of a lot of right-wing vitriol, particularly from Senator Rand Paul,
Yes.
who lambasted Dr. Fauci on Friday and brought out his private diary as and entered it into this hearing.
It's ironic in the sense that first I can recall, because I was actually at the NIH at one point, at first, Fauci was looked upon as being the man that got us through the crisis. And many people in NIH at the time and others felt that he was the right man at the right place and did the right job. So yeah, Tony, I think one of the things that pays into this is the fact that former President Biden actually gave Fauci a pardon as one of his last acts before he left office.
Yes, a preemptive pardon. It's been speculated in the media that this hearing was mainly called by Senator Paul to get something on Dr. Fauci that would circumvent the pardon, to get him for some sort of perjury. That's why they entered his diary into evidence. And
Yeah.
then what he took the fifth on that, on any question pertaining to his diary as a consequence. So it ended up in a stalemate.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it didn't answer the main question that we're still trying to get to the bottom of now. Where exactly COVID originated? Did it originate from the Wuhan lab, or did it originate from a wet market, or from something else? They spent so much energy trying to nail Fauci on a gotcha that they got no closer to answering those questions for the American people.
To me, then, if the priority was to find out where it came from, why did you focus so much on just trying to break him down?
How do you think it's going to play out?
I think he's going to continue to stand his ground, so to speak.
Doom scroll for Todd Blanche, who
Mm.
used to be Donald Trump's personal lawyer and was recently nominated for Attorney General after Pam Bondi resigned. He almost made it, except for two Republican senators who are not up for re-election, deciding to vote against him because of some slush fund that Trump is trying to pull together. So Trump temporarily withdrew his name from consideration. But I'm afraid that Mr. Blanche's prospects are as good as done. I
I'm
know,
glad.
Richard, don't cry so hard. It's all right.
Yes, these are tears of joy, Tony. Hello, everyone. Pleased to bring you this Jamie update from our last scroll report. Please have a look at Jamie's updated website. On the website, he outlines his agenda as he pushes ahead for the elections this fall. The website is issues oriented. It addresses the concerns of working people throughout the state of Louisiana, and it shows how current federal policies have Louisiana worse off, not better than before. Jamie is gaining endorsements from news organizations and candidates who ran against him. Jamie continues to not take PAC money with an average contribution size of $18. More and more commentaries and editorials are providing information on pathways or his pathways to victory. You can see them in Substack and other media outlets. You recall I mentioned that there's a playbook in play of voter confusion, exhaustion, intimidation, and such in our last scroll report. Unfortunately, it is clear that this playbook from the federal to the state is in play. At the federal level, for example, President Trump fired all Election Assistance Commission's members, leaving the agency unable to act in the event of voter suppression or fraud. This gives the signal to the states that the feds won't have the capacity to investigate federal suppression or violations. In the same instance, during his primetime address, President Trump is focused on voter fraud and the SAFE Act being necessary for election security. Does this seem like a contradiction to you? Well, it might be until you realize that he is actually using this primetime speech to alert and energize his political base. At the state level, at least, in southern states like Louisiana, MAGA supporters are being told to go to each and every precinct armed for midterm elections. It is in this climate that Jamie is seeking election, and he is not backing down. So what can you do? You can learn more about how President Trump has been obsessed with elections since he lost the last one. You can learn more about how the midterms are critical to finishing out the Project 2025 agenda. You can support candidates who are stepping up to protect voting rights with your dollars. Yes, I said dollars. You can attend rallies and caucuses being held throughout the country, protecting and advocating for voting rights. We have to vote, and giving up, as many seem ready to do, is not the answer to our problems. Thank you.
And now it's time for Scroll Bits. And in music news, Humphreys McGee, lead guitarist Jake Sinninger, officially left the band after 26 years in July. Sinninger has not performed with Humphreys McGee since the band's February 15th Washington, D.C. date. In a social media release, Humphreys McGee announced on July 6th that they were supporting their brother Jake as he navigates a necessary leave of absence. However, on July 9th, Sinninger himself posted that it is the time in my life to step away from my tenure in Humphreys McGee, which has been one of the most difficult decisions I've ever had to make. I do really worry about what is going to happen next for Jake Sinninger and Humphreys McGee. I caught the UM show in Roanoke last week, and it had a giant Jake-sized hole in it. Of course, Humphreys McGee has been through adversity before, and they love to make a comeback story out of themselves. So I'm looking forward to whoever does replace Jake. And Jake, I'm wondering, maybe he's tired of touring and playing live? I don't know. I hope that he's working on putting together a super group, but we'll just have to wait and see. Country artist Shaboozey released a new album, The Outlaw Sherry Lee and Other Western Tales, on July 31st. This ambitious concept album, seeking inspiration from trap music, black cowboys, and country western roots. Shaboozey could have very easily fallen back on the formula of his big hit Tipsy, a rockin', club-bangin' country song. And don't get me wrong, Sherry Lee has a few rockin' out songs like Drunk, but Shaboozey challenged himself. He took on a serious creative challenge and rose to it, not only with this album, but with a follow-up graphic album too that comes highly recommended. The Outlaw Sherry Lee and Other Western Tales is my pick for Album of the Year, and if not, at least one of the top 5 concept albums of the 21st century after Pimp a Butterfly and Splendor of and Misery. Book of the month is American Trickster, The Hidden Lives of Carlos Castaneda by R.U. Marshall, a comprehensive biography of the late 20th century philosopher, spiritualist, charlatan, con man. Many questions surround the enigma of Carlos Castaneda, and this book does a great job of delving into Castaneda's life from the perspective of this post-truth society that we're living in today. I personally am semi-obsessed with whatever happened to his witches after Castaneda passed away. But I am also interested in the impact that Castaneda had on Western thought. And I like to see the direction Marshall took to kind of flesh out that picture rather than connecting to a new tradition of Neoplatonism embodied by the likes of Terence McKenna and Jason Silva. Marshall instead preferred to concentrate on the legacy of charlatans, whose names I won't be mentioning here. Television was a lot better in July for some reason. Even shows that have going long since before July, like King of the Hill reboot and Malcolm in the Middle reboot, total thumbs up on those guys. But moreover, there was Lucky on Apple TV. I really like the way Lucky is going right now. It's like, ooh, lucky I had that key in my pocket. Ooh, lucky I had this to get me out of that. It's really cute. And it's really great to see the balance of overacting between the generations of Anna Taylor-Joy and Annette Bening. In movie news, we caught Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey on IMAX on July 4th. My first impression of the movie? It was way too loud. Turn down the volume, you whippersnappers! What are you trying to do? Ruin my hearing? Overall, The Odyssey was a pretty good sword and sandal epic. I was already a little burned out. I mean, I'd already gotten my Odyssey fix from Ralph Fiennes just about a year ago. Before The Odyssey was officially released, there was a large right-wing backlash against some of the casting choices of the movie, but identity politics didn't really stick once the movie was released. The film opened to massive box office success and very high critical reviews. For myself, my final assessment of Christopher Nolan's Odyssey is that it's very much like the original Odyssey in that if only they'd listened to the women in the first place.
Hello, everyone. About half a century ago, NASA landed two spacecrafts. They were called the Viking 1, Viking 2, and they touched down on Mars. One question emerged from those experiments. Did they actually find life on Mars? Or did they destroy it while trying to prove it was there? There's a timeline to all the key events on this question. NASA was expecting to find a planet with organic material. Instead, the landers found a surface completely devoid of life. Mars was far more arid than anyone had imagined. The thinking was all biology required liquid water, and NASA subsequently spent 20 years trying to find them. They were looking for ancient or modern water pathways as a logical place to find life on Mars. Then, in 1996, a team of scientists discovered microfossils inside a meteorite that had blasted off the surface of Mars and crashed into the Earth. The discovery reignited an intense global debate. Were the structures that were found actually alien biology or not? Later, in 1997, on the heels of the debate, NASA officially selected the Atacama Desert in Chile as the Mars or planetary test bed. It turns out that it's considered to be the Earth's natural meteorite storage place or a freezer for it. The climate of that area of the Earth is so arid, there's virtually no rain, so that the meteorites, when they fall from space, they don't weather, they don't rust, and they don't dissolve. In fact, the oldest meteorites in that area are actually dated to be over 2 million years old. So let's flash a little bit to the present. The Atacama Desert taught NASA that looking for liquid water was not enough. Further, the studies there from the desert revealed that there are unique subsurface microbes in the Atacama Desert that survive by extracting humidity from salt structures. NASA kind of had a light bulb moment, and they immediately changed the focus of their mission. Let's follow the salt. Hey, NASA learned a lesson, and they ran with it. Most recently, in May 2026, NASA's Curiosity rover drilled into Martian salt rock formations and named them Atacama after the desert. They found areas in this region of Mars heavily enriched with mineral salts, sulfates left behind from ancient evaporated Martian water. This is exactly the kind of geology predicted by the Atacama Desert data here on Earth. My takeaway is that this is really more than just a storyline. It's going to come out to be that the story of Mars will be found after examining similar life here on Earth. As above, so below. That expression seems appropriate here. I like the fact that a barren desert land, first seen as void with no value, is now the cornerstone for ongoing Mars exploration. It's yet another example of why all of our ecology is so important. The story also illustrates that the actions we take are profoundly shaped by our bias and worldview. None of us is immune to this, no matter our station in life, our learning, our facilities, or our circumstance. Thank you for a life lesson, Atacama Desert.
And now we come to Memento Mori.
Hello, everyone. This Memento Mori is for Bill Zabel. Bill passed away on July 7th, 2026, at the age of 89. Bill was raised in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. As a youth, he witnessed mistreatment of Native Americans at the Pine Ridge Reservation, and this shaped his commitment to social justice. At Princeton, Bill organized a petition urging federal action after the murder of Emmett Till. He recalled, "My roommates and I were so incensed by the verdict that we started a petition. Later, classmates dressed in KKK robes and armed with a shotgun threatened our lives. The campus newspaper and the Princeton administration characterized the incident as a quote unquote prank." In 1967, Bill spent the summer as a volunteer civil rights attorney in Mississippi. This is where the Freedom Riders, Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner, were murdered for attempting to register Black voters. Bill was repeatedly harassed and shot at by the KKK as he worked to free jailed Black voters. When asked to summarize this experience, he said, "Nothing in life is so exhilarating as to be shot at without result." Bill also negotiated a $7.2 billion Poco War settlement, which enabled compensation for Bernie Madoff victims. It was the largest civil settlement in U.S. history at the time. Bill authored the ACLU's legal brief for the case Loving versus Virginia in 1967. This case struck down interracial marriage bans nationwide. I honor Bill as a person who shows us what lifelong, so-called, quote unquote, if you will, liberal advocacy and action looks like. There's one hell of a movie to be made here, folks. Rest in peace, Brother Bill.
South Carolina Senator Lindsey Olin Graham passed away at the age of 71 on July 11th due to an aortic dissection. Graham started out as a Juris Doctor from the University of South Carolina in 1977, served 33 years across U.S. Air Force, South Carolina Air National Guard, and the Air Force Reserve before retiring in 2015 as a colonel. He was deployed to Rhein-Main Air Base in Germany, called to active duty during the Persian Gulf War, and later served in Iraq and Afghanistan in reserve roles. 2014, he received the Bronze Star Medal for meritorious service as a senior legal advisor. He was elected to the South Carolina House of Representatives in 1992, and then to the U.S. House in 1994. Where he gained national prominence as impeachment manager during President Clinton's trial. 2002, he went to the Senate, where he served until his death this year. Through 4 election victories and 2 decades of work on foreign policy, national security, and judicial appointments, including shepherding a conservative majority into the Supreme Court these past few years. I'm not going to talk about Graham's politics or his personal life. I'm much more concerned about how he got an aortic dissection. I also am in danger of the same fate. It's a family history with me, but I'm getting it taken care of. I have a doctor who's watching that aorta really closely and will let me know when it's in danger of dissecting. Why didn't this happen to Lindsey Graham, I wonder? Maybe he just wasn't listening? I don't know. All I can say is, thank God it was quick, and rest in peace. And there you have it. The Scroll Report for July 2026. I must announce to everyone that we are not proceeding with the newsletter anymore. The Scroll Report newsletter is on hold due to lack of resources. If you would like to volunteer to maintain the Scroll Report newsletter, please reach out. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any content you'd like to contribute to the Scroll Report, please contact Tony MacFarlane. All the same, thanks for your eyes, and a huge thank you to Richard A. Walker for his contributions this month. And if you still haven't got enough feels good to get you into August, then I highly recommend listening to Biko's Mana on YouTube. Their cover of Olivia Dean's Couple of Minutes is so sweet. Anyway, have the best August 2026 ever. Bye.